We've got a live stream. I'm Moshe, coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. Oh, on a little bit of a brisk morning here. Not what happened? Messed up. Not really very cold at all. 56 degrees, and it's 7:52, almost 8 o'clock in the morning. The sun's out bright. And it's a straight up sunny day. High of I think 74. But it's going to be a low of 51, or it was last night a low of 51. Um, Wind gusts are up to 9 kilometers an hour. That's like 4 or 5 miles an hour. That's like a light breeze. I don't know what they're worrying about that. A lot of dust in the area. The area between Iraq and Syria, they have a border over there, was very, very dusty. It's been bothering my eyes. I may have to go get some eye drops yesterday and today because we keep windows open, or I do anyway, so I want fresh air. So that's a nice day. And tomorrow is what I would say an astoundingly nice day, shockingly nice day. It's going to be 78 degrees with a low of 56. That's not summer, it's early spring. That's the hottest day we've had since last summer. So 78 has a small chance of heating the house up a little. Today and tomorrow, the house is going to warm up a little, thank God. But here's the problem. Tuesday, I don't see rain, but I see cloudy with a high of 69. Not that that's going to mean we're going to have to go shovel the snow, but it's going to maybe keep the house where it was. It won't cool off much. And then Wednesday, we get sun with a high of 68. Puzzling. How, I don't understand. It should be warmer. Then craziness Thursday, again, full sunny, and it goes down to 54. I can't figure this out unless there's some stiff winds or something. And then, or they're wrong, because I could definitely believe they're wrong. And then Friday, more sun, and we go up to 74. Saturday, more sun, and we go up to 76. And then more sun, and we drop down to 70. And, I'm confused. It doesn't make any sense to me. How can you have a full sunny day and not get it warmed up? I don't get it. All right, we need Popeye the weatherman here. All righty. Let's. So what we're going to talk about today is the mysteries of Trump and what the heck he's doing, and is he just nuts, or he's got a plan, or what, or who is he selling out? Because he's selling somebody out. I can just about guarantee you that. And what the heck is going on? I don't get it. He keeps talking about just nuke stuff. Well, they're not going to have any nuclear stuff, and we want the uranium back. I want to hear ballistic missiles, okay? We're not hearing that. Are we hearing you got to treat the people better? No, we're not hearing that. The nuclear stuff is fraudulent. You know that. So what's going to happen is nothing. Over 100,000 people got killed protesting because this Donald goes out and tells them, oh, help is coming. Yeah, we're going to have a nuclear treaty with Iran. Are you kidding me? This is some monster in the White House. This is beyond narcissistic sociopath. This is a full-blown dictator waiting to happen. That's all you got, a king or a dictator. That's it. Watch out. This guy is going to be worse. Americans got to watch out. He ain't going to make America great again. He's going to make the billionaire Satan bot people in America greater than they ever were. Not the people, not the country. No way. Where's your count on the golden Fort Knox, huh? Oh, gee, never happened, right? Yeah. What about Epstein? They keep releasing stuff redacted all over the place. They're keeping Trump out of it. Trump's in up to his nose in the Epstein files. And he's saying, well, we need to move on. And there's people that want blood. They're going out there saying, why the heck is this being redacted? We want the truth. They'll never give him the truth unless Trump's out of office. Trump will never let it happen. Trump put his own people in the FBI, Pronto Danto, and the Justice Department. There's no chance they're going to release this stuff undacted. Do you got it? The probability is stone cold zero because Trump will fire them and go after them and put them in jail or something. Not a single chance unless somebody does Trump in. If they throw Trump under the bus, then it's going to come out. Okay? If Trump's seated as president, nah, you ain't never going to see it. There's a slight, I give it it's end times. Let's give it a 3% chance. Somebody, might decide they want to be a whistleblower and get rid of Trump to do the country a favor or something like that. But he's in there up to his eyeballs. He's lying. I never went to the island. Yeah, but he's all over the plane, all over the pictures. Epstein set him up with his spouse. I think she trained in Monaco. Well, the other freaksters over there. But, you can't get evidence on them. And if you did, what good would it do? All the courts are crooked. The gambling casinos are crooked. The racetracks are crooked. What are they? If they can't fix it and rig it, they wouldn't have it. Okay? It wouldn't exist. Are they fixing the elections so you can't rig them and stuff? I don't think Satan cares about that. First of all, there's not much anybody, they're not worried about betting money on it very much. And the other thing is, they don't care who wins. Satan doesn't care who wins. It's always one of his people. He really doesn't care. I mean, you got to understand, he really doesn't care. Okay, let me go into the live stream. What Satan's got to worry about now, and he cares, is wars. Because if wars break out, he don't know who the heck's going to win or lose. And that's scaring him. What if he starts getting countries popping up from war that are not run by his Satan bots? You see? He's got a problem. He's a fearful jerk. He's mean, he's vicious, he's vindictive, he's vengeful. He's also insane. Hey, moderators. Okay. Yeah, you love Trump. Tell me one good thing Trump ever did. I'd really love to hear it. I don't know of anything. How about the Fort Knox gold count? Did you ever see that? Oh, gee, how about that? How about when everybody was being told they're going to get a stimulus check? Gee, you never heard of that anymore, do you? Oh, how about that, huh? He picks on the weak countries to get oil, okay? He went to Venezuela. They got the largest oil reserves in the country. Ka-ching, ka-ching, okay? He doesn't have that much control in Venezuela. He didn't fix things for the people in Venezuela. It's not that they are now in equal opportunity employment in Venezuela. It's still people that are into the corruption system are getting the jobs and all of that. That never fixed. Is his friends at Chevron over there running the oil in Venezuela? You bet. That's all he cared about. And is he going to go into Nigeria to help the Christians? Not a chance. Is he going to go into Nigeria because they made a mistake? The stupid leaders over there, and they're pretty dumb, letting the Muslim crazy groups over there kill and persecute and rape and burn and rob the Christians. Yeah, so that gives Satan and gives Trump another opportunity, like Venezuela, and he can run in there and grab their oil. If they didn't have any oil, would he ever go in there and help the Christians? I give that a 0% chance. Zero. Anybody who believes that Trump is a Christian, oh my gosh, that's scary if you believe that. What he's doing to Israel here seems sad to me, and I live here for many years. Way this is likely going to play out, and I'll cover it again during the broadcast, is Trump's going to have Netanyahu attack Iran, and Iran's going to fire missiles back at Israel like they did the last time when we had $53 billion of damage claims to the government go in. And this Iran got 17% of their missiles penetrated our Iron Dome, our David Sling, our Arrow 2, and the THAAD systems he got from America. Got through 4 systems. 4. You don't need 100% penetration. You don't need 50% penetration. You could do a lot of damage with 15, 20%, 10%. Just keep slinging the missiles. Send 100 missiles and 10 land. That's not good. Now we have a 5th layer called the Iron Beam, the laser system, and we don't know how well that's going to do yet, but it did rather well in all the testing. Okay, I'm going to put a post up. So what's his goal in giving us this task? Well, the goal is rather easy. The people in Israel are going to get busted up. We all have bomb shelters, so probably not so much killed. But cars and houses and buildings and high rise and roads will get blown up. Tremendous damage, hurts the economy more. Plus, the drop in tourism hurts the economy well. And then what happens? People leave Israel again, and then Trump gets another 400,000 Israelis to leave. The last time we think it's up to about 450,000 left. And he reproduces it again, and then Satan comes over and taps him on the head and gives him an attaboy and says, "Oh, you'll make another $50 billion this year," you know. I can't think of any one good thing Trump did for America, really, for Israel. All he ever did for Israel is give us weapons to clean up the Middle East. The problem with Trump was this: Iran and Russia were going to sell the oil through bricks off the US dollar and break Trump's economy. So he sigged, well, Biden did it. Biden and Trump got the same policies, by the way. So he sigged Biden. It's not all of them, but some of them. There's a lot of differences, but on international, they're really not that far apart. So he turned Biden loose. Well, Biden turned Ukraine loose on Russia to get their oil, and he keeps attacking oil refineries. And then Trump turned Israel loose on initially the proxies, and then because the proxies could rise up and cause more problems. So after we took down the proxies, which we're still doing after like 2.5 years, then he wants us to go take down Iran again. I mean, this is a sick man. Now, He's a Christian. What do you think God thinks about this? Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. I'll be done in a minute. I'm in Israel, in the Galilee of Israel. And I'll tell you what time it is in Israel in a second. Uh, it's 8:08 in the morning. Okay, I'm going to shut this off. Trump and Netanyahu are very similar. You take Netanyahu and you wind him up and you put him in front of the camera, and all these great things come out of his mouth. And then when the camera gone, he goes back to being the same rotten, despicable leader he's always been. He just barks in front of the cameras, and that's what Trump does. Trump loves the cameras. As much time in front of the camera that he can get every day, he's pretty happy. And he's still playing golf a lot, not as much as he did in the first term that I could pick up. Also, today we're going to talk about gold and silver. We're going to talk about how they're counterfeiting it. And I'm going to give you some ideas of an expert I heard that made sense. Okay. Now, am I telling you this that the Lord told me this is going to happen? 100% no. The Lord never told me it will happen, or He never told me it won't happen. Okay. So I'm just going to tell you basically what some of the experts are saying, and I'm going to embellish it with my own logic and numbers from the past, and leave it at that, and you make your own decisions. But it is a pretty interesting topic, and I think you'll find it interesting how they're counterfeiting. They're counterfeiting Roosevelt dimes, which were made with silver up until 64. Before the Roosevelt dime, there was a Mercury dime, and I think that was made with silver too, but 90% silver. I don't think the Mercury dime had, maybe, let's see, maybe the Mercury dime had full silver. Well, let's do praise first. We are a Bible believing site, Old and New Testament. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 And there is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, so let's see if the previous, before the Roosevelt dime, you had the Mercury dime, which, by the way, is an idol. Okay, Mercury is that mythological god that got wings on the side of the head, and I think it has wings on the heels of the foot or some stupid thing like that. Of course, it's not real. So this is a false god. It's an idol. Now, are people being told to worship it? No. But they're giving it a great deal of homage and respect by putting it on the currency, are they not? They are. They are. Okay. So it's a false god. You know, a reasonably good country doesn't do that. If you ever had a real Bible believing president that feared the Lord, don't you think they would change things like that? Don't you think they'd get rid of that stinking Statue of Liberty and stuff like that? Of course they would. Trump wants to build another monument, not a graven image per se, though. He wants to build an Arc de Triomphe like franchise. Well, Arc de Triomphe. It's a big structure that has a road through it, and you got two massive pillars, and then it connects at the top. It's curved, and you drive through it. And he wants to put one up in DC, 250 feet high, to celebrate the 250th anniversary of America. What will that cost? Well, you got all the homeless people in America that Trump doesn't lift a stinking finger up to help, right? What about that? You see, does he help the people? Huh? Biden increased Social Security. It went into effect January 26. He increased it something like 2.5%. It should have been 20 to 30%. Did Trump say anything? No. All right. Let's see if the Mercury dime was all silver or 90%. The Roosevelt is 90% silver. Okay, I'll just run it on. Regarding the Mercury dime in America, was it made out of 90% silver or basically all silver like a silver dollar? It's called, the AI is telling me it's called the winged Liberty head dime. No, I used to collect coins avidly as a kid for many years. I used to read coin magazines. And no, it was called the Mercury dime. The Mercury dime was run from 1916 to the end of World War II, 1945, and it was 10% copper and 90% silver. Let me see I can't remember what the dime was. It's been so many years. What was the American dime or 10-cent piece previous to the Mercury dime? And how much silver did it have? That's right, the Barber dime, 1892 to 1916, not that long. And it was again 90% silver, 10%. Okay. They used to have other weird stuff when you go back further. They had a 3-cent nickel, they had 2-cent pieces. Back in the late 1700s, they had a 1-cent piece, I think it was copper. It was like this. It was about the size of not quite the size of a silver dollar, but pretty thick, big, heavy thing, 1 cent. That was, of course, in the 1789 or 1801 or something like that. If you went into a store with a 1-cent piece, you could buy stuff. Since we're on that subject, let's go into the gold and the silver. Okay, we'll start with the gold. Now, there's a woman. She's an economist and a self-proclaimed expert on gold. Now, you don't go to Harvard or Oxford or NYU or UCLA and get a bachelor's degree in gold. Now, you can get a metallurgy degree where you can work with gold and silver and copper and bronze mining and stuff like that. But that's a different thing. You could be a gemologist, but that's a different thing also, because a gemologist is heavily involved with stones. But they do know their way around gold and silver and platinum pretty darn good. Okay. A gemologist is a pretty respectable degree. I mean, they know what they're doing. Those are not idiots, okay? You got jewelers and then you got gemologists. And gemologists, I became friendly with one many years ago, and they're not idiots. They know what they're doing, believe me. If they're a real gemologist, they got to be certified and stuff, but they know what they're doing. All right. She said, and I was at first rather shocked when she said it, but then I started digging into it in my own head. She said the real value of gold and silver now, or gold, no silver yet, just gold. She didn't talk about silver. Is $38,000 to $40,000 an ounce. It's about 5,000. Now, the hook with her is she's, trying to get people. She's got a heavy credibility, and people will buy gold and silver from her. I believe she sells it because they figure she's going to be very secure and not give you counterfeit. Probably true. And we're going to talk about counterfeiting in a moment. So, how can you get to numbers like this? I'll break it down to you. In the 50s, maybe even very early 60s, there were places, even in California, where you could buy yourself a rather nice blue-collar house, not in a big city. We're not talking Los Angeles, San Francisco. We're talking smaller cities that have, 25,000, 35,000 people. When a city's under 100,000, it's got a whole different league, Chain stores don't want to open up there and stuff like that, right? All right. So you were able to buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a 2-car garage on a fourth of an acre, typical thing, right? White picket fence and sliding glass doors to the backyard with a slab of concrete to set your barbecue up, right? For $5,000. Uh-huh. Yeah. That same house today is going to sell for what? 150, 140, 180, depending. So even if it's sold for 100,000, it'll get more than that. It's 20 times greater. So if you took your 5,000 an ounce gold and multiplied it by 20, but that's not a fair comparison because you were back when gold was, 35 an ounce or 43 or something like that, right? But when you look at it, you can see how easily something like this could happen. Because houses went up, gold didn't. Gold is still going to go higher, okay? Now I'm being very conservative on the houses. There were probably houses back then you could buy for $18,000, $20,000 that are $600,000 or $800,000 today. Okay. You were probably getting a 3,500 square foot place on an acre, that had upstairs, downstairs. It had 4 bedrooms, a bath downstairs or a half bath and 2 upstairs, fireplace, island in the kitchen for cooking, at least a 2-car, maybe a 3-car garage. Might have come with a swimming pool, stuff like that. Okay. Really nice place. You had dining room, you had den, you had a family room or a living room, stuff like that. Okay. So the point is, gold has not gone up like housing. Got it? But it is on its way, mostly out of fear. But the important thing that we need to understand, gold and silver are desirable and valuable and have a similar, almost the same, identical value anywhere in the world. Where currencies, I don't care what the country is, are considered crappy now. And the wars didn't come yet. Wait for the wars. Bitcoin and all the others, Prometheus or what, I don't know. It must be 8 of them or 6 or 8. I don't know, big ones. Once the war starts and countries start cutting the internet cables, how secure do you think people are going to be with Bitcoin? If the internet goes out and you're sitting on gold and silver, how's that going to hurt your investment? It's going to help it, make it go up in value. Now, how will it help your Bitcoin? You may never get your Bitcoin out. It may get stuck there and never come back. You may never see it again. No internet. You got no Bitcoin. If you buy COMEX, paper gold, and the internet goes out, they don't go down. I mean, they go down, but they're not gone. You still can do things, get your gold, but it's paper gold. It's not any good. Paper gold, they tell you that if you want your gold physically, you can request it. But my understanding, and I think anybody that's knowledgeable will say the same thing, it's oversold. For every ounce of gold, how many ounces do they sell that aren't there? 3, 10? I don't know. Probably someplace between 5 and 10. I don't think they're becoming truthful about this. They're in multiple countries. There's countries they could work the corruption and lie and not worry about prosecution. So if you got your hard gold physically, you are better off than people in the stock market, because when the wars start, and they might start today or tomorrow or whatever with Iran could do a preemptive attack. Iran could shut the Persian Gulf. They're right in position to do it, and that would cause war. Anything could happen, and the markets close because prices start going so wild. They shut the market, may never open. Banks may close. People start doing a run on the bank. They start taking their cash out. They want cash, and the bank doesn't have enough cash, and they shut down. Never open again, maybe. Futures, commodities shut. Markets, the stock markets, the bond markets shut. Okay? Everything shuts. You can't do Bitcoin because of the internet outage in so many places in the world. And then what? You're sitting on your gold and silver. And that's when it's going up like a rocket ship, because that's the only thing that's real. And it's valued anywhere in the world. You know what it's worth if you go to China, Russia, England, South Africa, wherever you go, you have a very accurate idea what the thing is worth. It might be very soon for 2-3 ounces of gold, you can buy yourself a house. One ounce of gold gets you a nice pickup truck. If you go back to 1880 in America and you wanted to buy a buckboard with a really nice horse on it, I imagine it wouldn't cost you more than one gold 1 ounce coin. You know, what do they call it? A double eagle, a $20 coin. I think that would be all it would cost. Probably less. That was the car of the era. If you went to the market and you had a double eagle 1 ounce gold coin, you would be able to load up with so many groceries it wouldn't be funny. You could do the same thing today. But gold hasn't gotten where it should be. If you want to buy a nice Cadillac today, it's not a Cadillac Coupe de Ville convertible. It wouldn't be a coupe, it'd be a DeVille or something like that, right? Your basic Cadillac model is a 2-door and a 4-door. In mid-60s, they were fantastic cars. Okay, they were luxurious. They were relatively safe. They got a lot of pickup. They had good brakes and steering. They had plenty of room. They were well made, really good cars. Okay, Buicks and Oldsmobiles were made in different factories. The Cadillac was a different animal. The Lincoln was a different factory. That was another animal. You know, very good car. The Cadillac convertible around 1967, was $4,200. It was the same price as a Jaguar XKE, which was a problematic, junky car, but it was one of the most beautiful cars they ever made. And it was so much fun to drive. And it was really a nice car. Okay. And a Corvette was the same thing. What do these cars cost today? Well, you know, Corvette, a good one, is about 140, 170,000. A high-end Cadillac would be the SUV. an Escalade, probably 120, 130, 140. And that's how it is, you know. Um, so they've realized their value. Okay, gold and silver never did. The jewelry market is gotten so crazy. When Rolex and Patek Philippe and Omega and I don't know all these other characters with the watches, they go and they buy tonnage of gold. Okay, so they're probably still using gold that they paid maybe at most 1,000 an ounce for. Okay, and it's very popular for people to buy these expensive watches in gold. It's a tradition that goes back to the 1800s with the pocket watches. They were in gold. I mean, it was gold. It was gold. Now, Rolex and Patek Philippe and would only make models in stainless steel that were the cheaper ones, like the Rolex President. That's the one that has the day of the week at the top at 12 o'clock position, basically, but it's like 11 to 1 o'clock. And at 3 o'clock position, it has the date. Okay, they never made that in a stainless steel. I don't believe they ever did. They make it in platinum and white gold and yellow gold and rose gold. So the better watches they would only put up in gold. So if you wanted to get the stainless steel, you could get it without any date, or you could get it with the date in stainless steel, but you couldn't get the day of the week or anything like that. Okay. So how are they going to do that? Rolex, you're looking at a good 4, maybe now some of them are 5 or 6 ounces of gold. So if you're looking just at, let's say, 5 ounces of gold at 5,000, you got $25,000 in actual gold value. So Rolex is never going to let you have that. They're going to charge you probably $40,000 for the gold. Then comes the watch. So now that watch is probably going to be $70,000, $80,000. Where it used to be a lot cheaper. In the 70s, even in the 80, you were able to go run around and get a Rolex for about $5,000. A President in gold, 18 karat gold, for about $5,000. Today, I don't know what it sells for. Probably, I don't know, look it up. Be interesting. That's like a standard item for the rich. What is the price today for a standard Rolex President in 18 karat gold with an 18 karat gold bracelet? No special editions, no precious stones. I'm getting prices on used ones. I don't want that. Okay, $48,000. Okay. That's up from 5,000, During the Vietnam War, which takes us back to the 60s, they were running $2,500. And the gold was probably those days $43 an ounce or something. So they were getting 2,500 for the president. Now that's the standard luxury watch for heads of companies and doctors and presidents and senators and mayors and all that. That's the one they go for. So the point is, gold and silver hasn't realized its peak yet. Now, when is this going to blow up? I'll be right back and tell you. And it could blow up any day. So you know what I'm talking about already. I'll be right back. The war in Iran. Because Iran is positioned completely right now. The only thing Iran has not done is put into position the naval mines to close the Persian Gulf, which has 25% of the country's oil go through it. At the same time, the Houthis have every intention of shutting the Red Sea. That's 8.5%. So you could have almost 1/3, or just about, actually, as an estimate, 1/3 of the oil in the world shut down. The way oil prices work is they buy options to buy oil at a certain price. The options could be expiring in 1, 2, 3 months, 6 months. They usually stop at around 6 months. So people that need oil and can't get around it are going to buy options to lock the price in for the future. And there's always a future because they don't plan on going out of business. A shipping company, a trucking company, people that sell gasoline fuel to people, a taxi company, delivery companies, the post office, UPS, FedEx, DHL, Amazon. You're getting the idea? Okay. A ferry boat company. So, what happens? They want to lock their price in. So they're buying today futures or options. So it means future delivery. So they're going to lock in for, 250,000 barrels of oil at $69. it comes due in 3 months. When it comes due in 3 months, if oil on the open market is selling for 61, their option or their future is worthless. So they just let the option expire. Normally about 80% of options expire, okay? Now, they expire, they never get used. So let's say oil goes to 80. They've got an option at 69, so they execute the option when it's expiring. They say they want the delivery of the oil, and they take delivery. Well, if you're in this kind of business, you're going to be set up for it. If you live in a 4-bedroom house, what are you going to do? Put it in your swimming pool? So they get the oil physically. So when the war starts with Iran and they close the Persian Gulf and the Houthis close the Red Sea, and you start seeing oil go to 180, 240, 300, stuff like that, people are going to be buying options for future delivery to make sure they don't get killed on the price of oil. So as soon as it starts to happen, they're going to run in and start buying options. So the option's going to sell at, let's say, 69 now. All of a sudden, you're going to see, boom, 99, boom, 104, boom, 118, boom, 127, boom, bada boom, and they're going to go into a frenzy. Because they got to stay competitive. FedEx has to stay competitive with DHL and UPS. You getting the idea? Amazon got to compete with Walmart. All this stuff. Yellow cab has to compete with white cab. Shell gasoline has to compete with Sunoco. This is the way it works. So they're all sitting there buying futures. They do this with the orange juice. They do it with pork belly. They do it with wheat, corn, grain. It's common, okay? There's people that trade in this that never ever take delivery in their life. They just buy and sell the options. If you write options, you probably got an 80% chance of winning. Now, if you stay away from oil, you probably have a 95% chance of winning, You got to have a lot of collateral. So you could lose money at the option because, let's say, you wrote an option to a guy to buy it at 69 in 4 months. And in the 4th month, it doesn't sell for 69, it sells for 53. Nobody's going to execute the option. It just expires worthless. And you made your money for selling the option, the fee you get for writing the option. Now, if instead of selling for 69 in 4 months, it sells for 99, well, you took a loss. You've got to get that guy his oil at $69. So you got to buy it at 99 and give it to him for 69. Okay? So what he'll do is sell it to somebody the day before it expires or something, who's going to buy it and then execute it and take you delivery. So that's where a lot of this stuff is traded. So it's a fear-driven market. Okay? If your company was, Bob's Atlanta Eggs Company, right? And all you did was sell eggs, right? And you'd have to make sure you got a supply of eggs or you'd be out of business. Nobody would rely on you. Nobody would be dependent on you. The restaurants wouldn't, they'd be afraid. They're going to call you for eggs and you don't have any. Oil is a lot like that. It's very important. So when Iran goes, the panic is going to set in. Okay? It's going to set in. And the prices could go. People are talking $500 even. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't think anybody does. But to say it's going to go to at least 120 or double 130 or something like that, I'd say that's conservative. Okay. So if you're paying $4 at the pump in America and you got to go pay $8, you're going to make it. You're going to have to pinch back on something. You're not going to buy new clothes or new furniture or a new car, maybe, or you're going to, but you're going to keep going. You're not going to go out. But if it goes up from 65-ish to triple, okay, now you're at $4, no more, you're at $12. Well, now you're not going to want to drive your car. And what kind of car do you have? If you're running around with a pickup or an SUV that on the freeway is getting 16 and you got to go to work for, 45 miles or something like that, you're paying 45 and 40. So you're running, let's say 3 gallons, 6 gallons a day times $12. You're running $72 a day in gasoline. How long are you going to commute? Well, you're going to tell your boss you want to work from home. You can't handle this, right? And they'll accommodate as much as possible, but not everybody can work at home. Okay? Only very few. What if you live out of town? A few miles out of town. 4, 5, 6 miles out of town. Not unusual. And you drive into Super Walmart to buy your groceries, right? At the edge of town. And now it's summertime and it's, 93 degrees. You're running your AC and you're driving your pickup or your SUV, maybe in traffic. So let's be nice and say it's just 1 gallon going and 1 gallon coming. Okay? So you're spending about $25 on that trip to just get your groceries. So you're going to consolidate your trips. You're going to get there and you're going to plan that once a week you'll go in. You'll go to the bank. You'll go to the post office. You'll go to the drugstore. You'll go to wherever you need to go. You're going to do it in one run. Okay? That's one way life will change. Nobody's going to want to drive into the movies and drop $25 in gas or $50, depending how far they got to go, just to go see a movie. So the movie industry is going to fall apart. The jewelry people are about over with with the watches because I don't know how they're going to keep. You've got roughly $20,000 or $18,000 in the Rolex President, assuming it's 5 ounces. It's only 18% gold. It's 18 carats, so it's 70. What is it? 75% gold. So you know, you might have the watch might be um, $16,000 less if gold was at a lower price like it used to be. So your $48,000 watch would probably be about 30,000. Well, you're going to sell a lot more at 30,000 than you are at 48,000. Okay, same watch. So they're going to have to start putting them up in stainless steel. Now you can get platinum cheap. Platinum is slightly over 2,000. It used to be more than gold, but would they use platinum? Well, they do sell Rolex Presidents in platinum. It's very heavy, but it's a darn good thing to get. Gold is soft, it scratches easy. The bracelets wear, the pieces wear out. Rolex is a 50, 100-year-old. You go 50, 100 years with those. You might have to occasionally bring it in for service and stuff, but people buy those and they wear one Rolex for their whole life, just about. The other watches that'll do that are pretty non-existent. Omega, no. Breitling remains to be seen. Breitling is a darn good one. It might make it. Patek Philippe, no, that's what they call a drawer queen or a safe queen. You put it in the safe and you take it out and look at it. And you have a special anniversary dinner to go on and you put it on, or you have a wedding. And, you don't wear. You walk around with those things and boom, you bang it into the wall or your door or something like that. Let's say the dog bangs into you and the watch hits a door, a hardwood door or something like that. It'll break. It will break. They're not sturdy. Rolex is probably not going to break. You can buy, this is a funny story. You can buy a Casio watch. Now the price has really gone up on these things. They're about $25. It might be you can get them for $18 or $20. Okay. It's an I think 19W. I think that's it. It's a basic resin rubber Casio. It has the light to make it work at night, which is a pretty darn good idea. And usually it comes with a 5 or 10 year battery. These things are tougher than any Rolex or any Omega or any Breitling or any of these things. People take this cheap watch. You can watch it on YouTube. They put it in the clothes dryer with the heat, right? And they run a cycle like 15, 20 minutes. The watch is tumbling around. You try that with a Rolex and see if you got anything left. I would think you would not have anything left. Rolex and Patek and these places to stop the shock from the watch, boom, boom, this is a bracelet. You can shock it all you want. You hit it with a hammer, it ain't gonna stop working. It doesn't work. Okay, so they put a thing in the watch called Inca Block. It stops the shock of the watch. Okay, now the Casios are digital. All right, so when you have like a Patek Philippe or a Rolex, it's what's called analog. It has hands. Okay, so the hands could break. You know, uh, So I mean, way back when Rolex was getting its, reputation, the Rolex president was selling for, 2,500, later on to 5,000. And it was a solid gold bracelet. It was a beautiful watch. It didn't glow in the dark worth a hoot, you know, and people loved them because why? You could play racquetball with the thing on. Yeah, you could. You could play tennis with it on. You could swim with it. You could go operate your sailboat. You could probably parachute, but I don't know if I'd go that far. You could dive with the thing on, but that's not so smart. If you want to go diving, I mean, I don't know if they still do it. I'm not a diver. They'd get these big plastic watches that had a big thing like that, and it would tell them things like what the time is, how far, how many minutes down they've been, and maybe what the depth is, where they are, the pressure, and that's what you'd probably want to have. But anyway, I don't think people were diving with gold Rolexes because you can bang them up diving, hitting rocks and different things, and if you break the glass, your watch is cooked. And if you got to bring it in to get it fixed, you can get a bill of probably today $2,700, $3,800. Back then you'd probably get a bill of 500 or 600. So they then in the 70s, I remember you had the what was the Pulsar was the big name. It was a watch that was a rubber band. Though they had some metal ones, and it was made out of some kind of resin rubber thing. And you had to push, it had a battery, and you had to push a button, and the numbers came up in red. And that was the rage. Everybody wanted one of those. And they were selling, Pulsar was selling one made out of metal. It was beautiful. And they were selling it for the price of a Rolex president, thousands of dollars. Elvis had one. The TV stars had them. They were. It's a trend watch, but these were the beginning of digital watches. Now we fast forward to about 1980, and what did I have? I bought a Casio watch that had a calculator in it. It had little buttons. It had a calculator. It would multiply, add, subtract, and divide. You couldn't do large numbers. Maybe you could get out to 10 million or a million, something like that. And it had it showed you the day of the week. It's sort of like Wednesday, Thursday, and the date. And the date often had the month. So it would say like 2-15. It didn't give you the year. If you need the year, you're in bad shape. And you had the time. And I used it like crazy for calculation. I mean, I was using it all the time. It was great. And I don't think it cost much. It probably back then was money. This is, 45 years ago or more. So it probably cost $29 or something, which was a lot of money today. I mean. And that was a great watch. And then they had timers on them too. This thing had timers. So if I wanted to go jogging, I used to run. I had these things, but that thing, I got rid of it after a while. It was something I didn't like about it, the watch. And I got another kind of digital watch that had a timer for running and things like that. They were, really good. So this watch that Casio makes, I think F19W or F12W, you can look it up on YouTube. They put it in a dryer and it ran. Then they put it in hot boiling water and it doesn't fail. They freeze them in the freezer and then they throw them out and it works, right? Gets better. You could see people take a pickup truck, a full-size pickup truck, and they drive over the watch with the pickup truck, and it doesn't break, and the watch keeps ticking and keeps working. People take them up in helicopters 20, 30 feet and throw them down, and they keep working. And it's about a $20 watch. And there's no Patek Philippe. There's no Rolex. There's no Omega. There's no Jacob and Co. None of these guys make a watch that could come close to doing this. Plus the accuracy of this $20 watch, you might get it for 15 or 18. The accuracy is superior to anything Rolex or Patek Philippe ever made. Because their watches are automatic, they're self-winding, and you lose a minute or two every month or two, something like that, maybe every, these are much better, the digital. And they got the light, so the light works all night long. When you go to bed with a Rolex or an Omega or something like that, usually the light and the dark will work for the first few hours. But once you get up to about 3 in the morning, it doesn't work too good anymore, So I think they've improved it now and they got it working, but it took a long time. In the old days, like the 20s, the 30s, I think even the 40s, they used radioactive stuff. And when I was a kid, I had one. And it worked. The watch didn't work for long, but the radioactive stuff worked for a while. The watch didn't last, but the radioactive stuff would work for, I don't know, 20, 30 years. It would keep. Now they use something called tritium, which works for, I think, 20 years. Not all of them use it. So this is the point I guess I'm getting to slowly. These watches, I'm guessing Amazon $15 to $20 for this thing, right? They're selling. There's a company called Temu, Temu. It's like what's that? AliExpress, right? They're selling counterfeits of this. They're selling the original for 83 shekels, which is $26 maybe. That's their price, right? I think you could do better with Amazon. And they're selling counterfeits of this for 6 shekels, which is like $2. The Chinese are counterfeiting a $20 watch that's retailing for $2. So they're probably selling it for 69 cents. I don't know what they're getting for it. I mean, you got to look at this. The Chinese will do anything. They're counterfeiting watches and retail. They're retailing for $2 a counterfeit watch. They're counterfeiting cheap Casios. This is incredible. Now let's go to the Mercury dimes, and not so much the Mercury, the Roosevelt dime. We'll go to that, right? So I'm watching on YouTube dealers in gold and silver, and they're saying that they've been seeing counterfeit Roosevelt dimes. Now, you're talking about 2.5 grams. Maybe when it's worn out, it's 2.3, 2.4 grams, okay, of silver. Today, you're talking maybe $4.50, $4.75 in value, silver value for this coin, right? And they're counterfeiting it. Can you believe it? Let me tell you what they're doing. It's even more incredible. They got to make a mold. That's easy. You do it with lasers, they can make a mold, right? You got to get, now what they do is they make a core out of copper. So you can melt pennies if you want, and you get plenty of copper. And then they put a heavy coat, not a little flimsy coat, a heavy coat of silver around the copper. So when the copper, they're not, I guess they put the copper in the mold and then they put the silver over the copper. Okay. Now, what they have to do is they have to make this phony coin have the weight of the real McCoy. Okay. That's not so easy when you're trying to get precise with a very light item. These are not heavy dimes. Okay. So let's keep going. You got to get the diameter correct, right? Because they'll take it and they'll put it in a case to see if it's snug, or they'll just put it in a electric caliper and measure. That's really what they'll probably do. And then they put it on a digital scale and they get the weight, and then they say, I don't know, you know. So they get suspicious, and that's it, usually. They take one of the coins and they open it up with a grinder. So, I mean, they're counterfeiting an item that's selling for at most almost $5. It's crazy. They're pouring copper, then they're pouring silver, they're making molds. You know, they got to get the diameter correct, they got to get the weight relatively correct. Then the coin dealer has to detect it. If they put a magnet on it, silver does not respond to a magnet. If this is your silver coin, you put a rare earth magnet on it and you pull and you get no resistance. If you get any resistance, then there's some other kind of metals in there. That's your first scare. Second scare is put it on a scale. The weight's not right. Third scare is put a caliper in there and measure the diameter of the thing. Then you could use the caliper and measure the thickness of the thing. You're going to catch them someplace. Okay. You can't make a coin out of silver and copper that's going to be a perfect replica of a silver coin. But this is what they're basing it on. A guy walks in the store and he's got his pillowcase or his cigar box or something, right? A lunch pail. And he's got 89 of these coins and he wants to sell them. So is the coin dealer going to go measure 89 of them, or he's going to spot check, 3? So let's say half the coins are good and half the coins are bad, So what happens is the dealers don't want to buy the stuff because it's not worth their time testing it. Okay? Well, let me tell you what else they do. They make these things look worn. When you saw the old Mercury dime or the Roosevelt dime with the silver, and it was in circulation many years, especially the Mercury, they were worn flat. The image of the woman was all squished out and flattened. It didn't have a lot of detail. What are they doing now? They're putting some sort of grinder on the thing to rub off the highlights of the coin to make it look like it was in circulation. Unbelievable. All for a $4.75 coin. You got to listen to this. So they probably have a very fine grit grinder on a paper, and they get a machine or something that holds it, or I don't know how they do it. It has to be mechanized, I expect, but maybe not. And and they rubbed it off so it looks warm. After they rub it off on the grinder, then they might have, instead of having something in the machine that has a cloth with grit on it, or paper with grit on it, they have something with just a piece of paper with cloth, and they probably put a lubricant in there and they run it on that, so it smooths out what the grinder did. So, you guys getting a grasp for what's going on with gold and silver? It's a nightmare out there. It's a nightmare. Now, people that have gold and silver, when it was trading, when silver was trading for $4 or $5 an ounce, and you had gold at 280, 350, 400, there wasn't that much running around in phony gold, you know? They didn't have that much because it wasn't that attractive, and there wasn't so many people running around buying it, you know? So how do you do it today? Well, you got to find somebody that's well thought of the industry. This woman probably is a great bet to go to. Or what your best bet is to find one of these gurus that has like a YouTube channel with a 400,000 or more followers, and they're probably selling tons of this stuff, and they're in no position to get caught in a scandal by supplying counterfeits. So they're going to spend a lot of time and money making sure they don't get it. The guy that's buying from people off the street, he's going to get hit. And he's probably going to get hit by people that don't know their stuff is counterfeit. Right now, Rolex and Omega and Patek Philippe and those guys are Cartier and all of them are freaked out because there's so many counterfeits in China. So if you go to a reputable dealer, the chances of you getting a counterfeit are next to nothing, because what that guy will do is open up the watch and he'll look at the movement and he'll know immediately. And that's it. You open the watch up, you're going to see it. Now, a lot of these Rolexes and stuff, they're making the internal parts look exactly like Rolex. They took the Rolex movements and broke the pieces down, and they use lasers to reproduce these pieces on these mechanized machines using lasers. And they actually copied the Rolex movement, but they don't really polish the parts the same way. They're not using the same raw materials as Rolex, and it's not quite the same thing. It's darn close. All these counterfeits that look like Rolex on the outside, and they put a good movement in them. So the watch runs like $100 watch or a $200 watch or something like that, right? The problem is these watches don't have any water resistance. They give you a water resistance that's good enough to wash your hands in the sink with splash and walk in the rain. That's it. Washing your car might be too much. They don't even want you showering with these watches. With a Rolex is usually going to have, 600, 1,000-foot water pressure test. Theirs is waterproof for 8 inches. If even 8. So they're junk. But what it does is it ruins the secondary market. People go to a Breitling store Or maybe they go to Saks Fifth Avenue and they buy a Rolex, or they go to Neiman Marcus. And, Neiman Marcus and those guys are not morons. They're not going to buy counterfeit watches, okay? They're going to make sure they're getting them from the source. And you buy the watch and then you want to go sell it. There's no secondary market anymore. Who the heck wants to go buy an expensive watch in the secondary market? Because you're going to get a counterfeit. Now they counterfeit the gold, but they do a crappy job. There's these special coatings you can put on a base metal or even silver, and it looks a lot like gold, but not to somebody that knows what gold looks like. Somebody puts it under a bright light with a loop, a jewelry store with a bright light, they're going to realize it's not gold. So that doesn't work. So the Chinese will do anything now. Anything. I mean, they're counterfeiting watches, $20 watches, and selling them for $2 retail. I mean, do you know what they've come to when they do that? They'll do anything, these people. Incredible, isn't it? China has no quarrels with people counterfeiting anything. The best counterfeit anything, running shoes, clothing, purses, wallets, luggage, I don't know, anything, is China. That's the heart of it all. That's where people go to buy counterfeit anything and everything. Would it be better if the Ayatollah is removed from power? Yes, that's what Trump is saying he really is striving for. But Ayatollahs, what is it going to take to get the Ayatollah to just pack up and go home? Well, it has his home, and pack up and go to Moscow. Well, I mean, that's not so easy. How are you going to get him to do it? I mean, I think the Ayatollah is gonna go pretty bad before he. Do you know that as of now, right this week, he's arresting political officials in Iran that are not so much on his side, but more on the side of the people. And when you get arrested, you're going to have a very painful interrogation, lots of them, and you're going to be in a tomb, in a dungeon, and the chances of them just shooting you in the prison are very high, just to get rid of you. The cup I got, I think, is stainless steel. I got them on Amazon. They're a couple of bucks. They're very good. I've had them years. They don't wear out. They're great. Easy to clean. The Philippines, Croatia, hey, hey, hey. Love seeing people from around the world. Um, Gold is not affordable for me. Too expensive. This is why silver's going to shoot up. People are talking about silver in $1,000 or $2,000 an ounce now. What do I think about that? I think if you're going to see $30,000, $40,000 gold, you're going to see $1,000 or $2,000 an ounce silver. Darn tootin'. I can't guarantee any of this stuff to you guys, okay? The only guarantee is gold and silver is the best form of money anywhere. And that's not going to change. Tag Heuer. Tag Heuer is a kind of a low price luxury watch. It's not as expensive as a lot of the other luxury watches. The crazy of them all is the Patek Philippe, and I think Audemars Piguet is very expensive at times. And Cartier could be expensive. Rolex could be expensive. Rolex has another line of watches other than the regular ones. I forgot what they call them. They're very, very expensive. And most of them have rubies, emeralds, sapphires, diamonds, and they're all gold, platinum, and all that stuff. And they have a different bracelet. They're very different. And they're very, very expensive. And I never even saw one in all the times I used to look at these things years ago. I never saw one. I never even saw one. I don't know what in the flesh. I just saw pictures, you know. So it's people that collect things. So I've never seen the value in Citizen watches. I bought a Citizen watch around 2000. It was some kind of pilot watch, and it had a million different things it would do. And it was, I think it was solar. It was about $600 back then. It was a real state of the art. Well, my vision was great, not great, but pretty darn good back then. I couldn't read the stuff in there. You'd have time zones around. You look at it, you couldn't even see it. And making the alarms work was a nightmare. And it was just, it was a useless piece of junk. It was poorly engineered. It worked good when people read the ad and you had a shopping list this big of everything it would do. It would do it, but they didn't tell you that it was so darn small you couldn't see it unless you had a magnifying glass or reading glasses or you had something unusual with your vision. Now, I used to be able to read near point, not 2010, and I couldn't use this watch effect. It was a joke. Then I think I still have it here in the drawer. I have a Seiko diver watch I bought probably around the same time, 2001, maybe around then. And it's a battery powered, a big, thick, bulky looking thing. And it looks like a Vietnam era watch. And, I wore it. That was $400 back then. And I wore it for a while, and then I don't know. I got tired of it. I didn't like it. It wasn't. There was nothing great about the thing. It's probably as good today as a $40 watch. A Casio was the one. So then I bought a Casio watch, and that was one of the first that came out with. What did it do? It did altimeter, temperature, and compass. Okay. So I tried to set it with the altimeter and I managed to do it. You had to find out what the altitude of your particular home was, and that's not easily done, but I got it done because I had an actual altimeter from my old going into the woods days, a real altimeter. I think I have it someplace, a real altimeter, just an instrument that had no electronics in it. It would give you the altitude. So I entered that altitude in, and that would work. And the barometer, it gave you a reading. I don't know if it worked or not, but it would give you a reading. And the compass was weird, but it didn't give you a great reading. I didn't trust it. And then the temperature was a joke because it's on your wrist. So the temperature comes out warmer than what it is. So the way the temperature would really work for real is you take it off your wrist, put it on a table for 20 minutes, let it settle into room temperature, and then do it. It was a joke. That was years ago. It's gotten a lot more advanced today, but it was, it was for, then I bought an Omega, had a digital watch that was able to sustain an incredible amount of G forces, enough G forces where you could throw it up in the air and hit it with a baseball bat. But that's shockproof and shatterproof in addition to G forces, not the same thing. So that was some kind of astronaut watch. I bought the thing, and you had so much trouble reading it at night. And here, my eyes were pretty good then. I sold it. It wasn't any fun. I had another one like that too. Oh, a Breitling one. It was like it did a million things, and you could read it. It was a big thing made out of titanium and everything else. And the problem with that is it would burn the battery out about every 9 months. Who wants to change batteries every 9 months? I mean, what do you want? Say, what is it? Casio. You could buy a watch for $20 from them with a 10-year battery. 10 years. These things are a lot of junk in the world. So Casio makes out that they make the best watch for, being tough and rugged, but the actual best of them all is not Casio. It's the people that make the Swiss Army knife. And I have a Swiss Army knife that I've been using since about 1985. So that's a long time I've had it, and I use it. And it still works. It's good. So they make, they make a great product. So they take this Swiss Army knife. They made a watch, a special watch. They got a special series, and they take this watch up in a balloon. You got to listen to this. You can look this up in YouTube. They got it on YouTube. That's where I saw it. They take it up 34,000 feet in the air on a balloon. Now, that's like where airlines fly, and it is cold up there. Okay? And this thing is got low oxygen, and it's freezing cold. And then they drop the watch out of the balloon. They have a release, and the thing goes and falls to earth. And they did it somewhere, and they could find it. So they found it, and it was still running. It was 34,000 foot drop and still running. Casio tests their watches at 30 feet, 33 feet. These guys did it at 34,000 feet. So, I've never replaced that Victorinox Swiss Army knife. It's a folding pocket knife. It's got a magnifying glass. It's got a tweezer. It's got a scissor. It's got a lot of things. I never replaced it. And I put a piece of cloth on it to make a loop to find it easier back in 85 or so. And it's still on there. And, it's parachute cord I put on it. It's a great, you imagine you buy a knife from them and it lasts for life. That's amazing, So I got it in 85, 95, 2005, 2015. It's 40 years. It was a lot of money. I think it was about $48, $50 or something like that. I remember I bought it in Marin County. It's just a great knife. I imagine the Chinese are counterfeiting those things like crazy, huh? So why do people tolerate the Chinese and their counterfeiting? China is so stupid because it will wreck all their industries. Why? Because people are going to be afraid to buy anything made in China because it's counterfeit garbage. But not the case, because the big companies, the Walmart and those people, are going to buy it only from the source. True, But what happens on a lot of these items, if you try to go to the secondary market, there is no market for it. So if you were selling, anything that had a secondary market, like a watch, some electronic equipment, a drill, or exercise equipment, people wouldn't want to buy it because it's just crap. So it kills their own market, but I don't know. All right. So if you can't afford gold, which most people can't, you buy silver. If you want to invest, you don't have to. At all, you don't have to. I'm not giving you any biblical values. You have to go buy silver or gold. I'm just saying, if you want to invest, you know, it's a good deal. I've been telling people that for quite a while. There's another way to test silver with a ping. They ping it. It makes a sharp ping, but when it's counterfeit, it won't. Real silver has a high ring, and the fake stuff is dull. It won't really ring. When you look at the edge of the silver coin, make sure it's silver all the way through, because the phony's got a layer. You see copper when you look through the side of them sometimes. That's not a real coin. That's a counterfeit. And then there's the magnet, because the real silver doesn't respond to a magnet. But if they got fake with base metals, you'll get a pull on the magnet. A lot of times the fake coins with the copper don't have the weight of the silver. Silver's a rather heavy metal. So the dealer's got a real problem with the counterfeits because, okay, first of all, these crazy Chinese people I don't think they understand what they're doing. When they counterfeit a Roosevelt dime, it's the same counterfeiting penalty as if they were printing $100 bills. Do you get that? They're making American money. Okay. Now, if you're counterfeiting a silver dollar, yeah, but if you're counterfeiting a gold bar, you're not counterfeiting money. You're doing something else that's wrong, but you're not counterfeiting money. So the Secret Service may not take any interest in you and stuff like that, but maybe they will. I don't know. A shipment of Patton M48 and M60 tanks arrived from Turkey to Mogadishu, which is that's where they had that helicopter. Somalia, maybe? I think it's in Somalia. The Israel defense industry has previously upgraded tanks of this type for the Turkish army. It's called a Sabra tank. A Sabra is a name for somebody that's native born in Israel. Now, Israel is the only country that recognized Somaliland, and Turkey is arming Somalia. Now, Somaliland is a breakaway from Somalia, right? So, Israel's beginning to start trading with Somaliland, And that's good because they're rather wealthy country. They have a lot of minerals. So, for making batteries, that's a good thing for us. Um, and they got a lot of food, beef and fish. So I have a feeling it'll be a lot cheaper there. And what's going to happen to the rabbis not wanting to miss out are going to go down there and open up rabbinical offices in the packing plants and tell the people that they in Somaliland that they can pay them a certain amount of money every month, percentage or flat fee, and they'll have kosher meat and they could sell it to Israel as kosher. And there goes 15-20% price uptick on the meat for them. Since January 14th until yesterday, more than it might be the day before yesterday, more than 150 cargo ships from the US and also Europe uh, have come into various places in the Middle East. So Trump is still running weapons in. He's still doing it. He's committed to trying to scare the daylights out of Iran. He wants to fight a war without fighting a war. And the bad news for us in Israel is the fact is that if he has to fight the war, he's going to tell us to do it. And our rotten leader is going to agree with him. Lindsey Graham, a senator who's friends with Trump, said yesterday about the situation in Iran, he said, you can't call people to demon to demonstrate in the streets, tell them that help is on the way, and do nothing. Well, that's what Trump has done. Well, Trump has done that. And it's been a long time, I think 6 weeks already, or a month. And he's still doing it, and he's not helping them. And they're still getting purged. They're doing protesting out of the windows of their houses. They don't want to go out in the street because they'll get shot, arrested. So they stay in the house, they open the window, they go on the balcony all at the same time, death to Khomeini, where's Trump? What's Trump doing for him? Nothing. Trump says that the Russian and Chinese weapons that were given to Venezuela failed to work for them. They arrested, they, I don't know what he's really talking about because I don't think he deployed a lot of weapons against Venezuela. But he's saying that no, he's not worried about China and Russia, which gave all kinds of weapons, probably heavily on the defensive, not offensive side. And So I don't know, but maybe he did. I don't know. It doesn't sound clean to me. Something's sketchy on that. He wasn't trying to bomb and attack Venezuela. So they're expected to do another round of these idiot peace talks Tuesday. So that's in 2 more days from today in Geneva. And Trump is saying that they got a period. He's using about another month to make a deal with Iran. That was an approximate figure. Now, the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier, which is a top-notch modern aircraft carrier, is chugging over here in, I figured, 2 weeks. The George Bush carrier, which we thought was coming here, is probably on reserve in the Caribbean, and it may come here yet. So that's an easy way for Trump to get another 2 weeks out of this. I don't know how many more peace talks Trump's going to have with these idiots before it breaks down to the point where one of them says they're not coming to the peace talks anymore. They told Trump all he's got to do is open up his mouth and say ballistic missiles, and they're going to walk out on there's no more peace talks. So if Trump's still going to him, either he's just buying time because he needs to mark time, he needs more time, or the idiot's actually going to sign a nuclear deal with these morons and tell the Iranian people, hey, I delivered you, I signed a nuclear deal with them, while they continue to kill them and arrest them. And, great guy that Trump sure is. I'd be afraid if I was in America what he'll do to you. I'm not sure that the George Bush aircraft carrier is in the Caribbean. I don't know where the heck it is. I don't think they want anybody to know. And again, Trump says it's what he wants. Chevron comes in, runs the oil, and that brings money into America, and it brings money into whose pockets in the White House, right? And my opinion is that would be the case. My opinion. And then he changes things with the people, and they put the Shah's son in, and the Shah's son sets it up for, in comes pornography, narcotics, make it like Europe. Iran's latest lovely comment that Trump negotiates with these idiots, right? If Iran is attacked, no, this is the Iranian comment, I'm sorry. If Iran is attacked, the probability of 10,000 American deaths in the first hours of the battle will be very high by striking aircraft carriers with 3-ton warheads. Now, I don't believe that they got 6,000-pound warheads that are on missiles that are capable of hitting an aircraft carrier? I don't think so. That's a pretty big stretch. The Iranian guys were saying when they heard about Trump's bringing the second aircraft carrier in, they said, oh, well, all that means to us is we have a second target. They're dead bent on tagging or bringing down an American aircraft carrier, killing it. They are really dead bent on that. And they're talking so negative to America, and they're so ready to shut the Persian Gulf like that. They got it closed. I think it would take them 90 minutes, maybe 4 or 5 hours to shut the Persian Gulf, something like that. They wake up in the morning tomorrow and go to work. By lunchtime, it's closed. The Houthis issue a warning to all the ships that they're going to get attacked if they go to the Red Sea. And then the race is on. The oil prices go up, gold and silver goes up, the markets go crazy. I'll be right back. What this dictator Ayatollah is doing, because they transferred a lot of their money out of the country, Bitcoin probably, and then conversion to other things, and eventually put it in a bank. But they, he wants to get rid of the sanctions. If he could get rid of America, he's going to get rid of the sanctions, and then he's going to build up his proxies, and he's going to have 10 or 20,000 missiles, and he's going to have missile launching ships, and he's going to try to get missiles to hit America and everything else, but he'll be able to hit Europe, no problem. And then he'll blackmail the world. He'll scare the daylights out of the other oil-producing countries in the Middle East and get them to do whatever he wants with, hey, I want you to sell 10% less oil this month, or raise the prices 13%, you know. And he's very dangerous, you know, to the world. And Europe is a bunch of babies. They don't do anything. Norway said if Netanyahu comes to Norway, they'll arrest him. You know, not that many years ago, the people in Norway who loved Israel, you know, Satan went to work on those leaders. So, how does Khomeini get rid of the sanctions? Well, he has to dish it out to Trump, maybe Europe, and get Trump scared enough while he's attacking Iran. Got to do things to America, and then Trump's going to call them up and say, let's wrap this up. And they'll say, there's no chance. We're just getting started unless you end all the sanctions. If they can't get that, they can't win, they might leave the country and he'll get his regime changed. It might happen. But the country gets destroyed in prophecy. Now, does that mean it has to be this month or next month? No. It's in Jeremiah 49, and it's Elam, E-L-A-M, Iraq and Iran. Maybe a piece of Syria, maybe. So, Trump's going to have to really go to war if Iran shuts the Persian Gulf. Now, can Trump's aircraft kill the big destroyers and stuff like that Iran has, which they don't have a lot of? Yeah. But Iran has submarines that are in position already, 4 of them, maybe now there's 6 or 8. Iran's got up to 3,000 go-fast boats. Last I heard a few days ago, they had 40 inside the Persian Gulf area. And 40 can easily turn into 240 or 440, no problem. And taking out that many is rather difficult, but they can use A-10 Warthogs, they can use F-15s, and they could do it. if they want to go around sinking all these boats, you know. America can't bring their warships into the Persian Gulf to end the closing of the Persian Gulf and the Straits of Hormuz because Iran has a large amount of missile launches very close to the Straits of Hormuz on the land belonging to Iran, islands in the mainland, and they could launch massive amount of missiles at the American warships plus drones. It's not so simple. It's not so simple, and it's not so hard, and it's no Venezuela. And now he's taken on Cuba. He's got the oil flow stopped going into Cuba, so they are rationing energy. Yesterday, there were protests around the world, big protests against the Iranian regime, this Ayatollah Shmukhmani guy, right? They were all over America. They were in Munich, 250,000 people, and the Shah's kid showed up there, who's an older man now, you know. They were in Rome doing this. They were in Poland doing this. Toronto, Athens, Dublin, Madrid, South Africa. All over the world protesting against Iran. See, Iran sees the end is coming when they see this, right? Because the Muslim terrorists always like to get the, what would you call it, the political position on their side. Now it's off their side. So they're really not in good shape. People are against them. They're slaughtering their own people. What do the morons expect? And they're still doing it. They're still arresting them. So this could be that Khomeini is. Remember, I told you people that serve Satan, the Satan bots, are like children. They really, truly are. You have to understand that. So he's sitting there, Khomeini's sitting there saying, well, I'm going to get even with these people. If I got to leave, I'm going to get even with them. So he's arresting them. The politicians that lean away from his administration, you know, stuff like that. What one newspaper said, or a news source said, Iran is in a severe international crisis with arrests of reformed politicians or reformist politicians and continuing protests. And they're still killing and arresting them. This is the phase that Iran is calling an internal, well, they're calling it an internal crackdown. They're purging the government to make sure that they don't have any enemies in the government that could do anything to them. So this is another phase of it. I don't know what playbook Iran is following. I think It's not a real playbook. It's seat of the pants. They don't know what to expect. They're making it up as they go along. They're not doing a Che Guevara or, any of that stuff, Mao Zedong, nothing. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. The anti-Hamas militia, this is backed by Israel economically and otherwise, is saying they are destroying terror group tunnels in Gaza, which would be Hamas and PIJ. Popular Forces leader al-Duhani says militia dismantling Hamas tunnels conforms increasing Israeli support troops killed Palestinians who crossed Gaza's yellow line, IDF says. Well, the tunnels had to go, and that's part of the disarming of Hamas. And if they're getting rid of the tunnels, they would be blowing them up, I expect. This is really a good thing. So the disarmament in a remote way is happening to Gaza, but it's not taking their weapons away. This is really interesting. Epstein had the Nobel Prize, Peace Prize, people were tied to him or something. The elites in the files reveal sex offender told Trump's ally Steve Bannon in 2018 that Donald's head would explode if he knew about his ties to Nobel Committee chair, who has since been indicted for corruption. That's probably got something to do with why Trump was fighting tooth and nail to get a Nobel Prize. And then the woman that actually got the Nobel Peace Prize medal in Venezuela wound up giving it to him. Well, I'm sure she didn't just wake up in the morning and say, I just have to give this to Trump. I don't think that's what happened. I wasn't there, but I don't think so. Security talks with Israel are focusing on a buffer zone, not the Golan Heights, but this is with Syria, with Giuliani. They're negotiating about getting a buffer zone near the border with Israel and Syria. Well, he's going to have to give it in to Israel because he's ISIS, Al Qaeda, and Syria. Israel doesn't like him and doesn't want to have him building up forces on our border to do another October 7th or whatever the heck they're going to do. I don't think Israel has any intentions of backing out of the Golan Heights with this idiot because it's important to us for safety. It's our land anyway. So what we're hearing now about Netanyahu and Trump is more very disappointing things. And it's coming through Netanyahu and Trump reportedly agreed to full force economic pressure campaigns against Iran. blocking Iranian oil exports to China among the options. That means Trump is going to close the Persian Gulf. But they'll close it too if Trump does it. It's stupid. I mean, I'm just hearing idiocy running around here. Uh, the next talks are going to be with Iran and America, going to be in Switzerland with Oman, or some people from Oman doing running the show, the negotiations, or something like that. So um, it's a comedy of errors. They're both marking time, Iran and America, and they both know they're marking time. It's just crazy. Um, this is interesting. Herzog, the president, wants to know from Netanyahu if Netanyahu wired up Trump or wound him up to make the insults to President Herzog about not pardoning Netanyahu. What Trump said was that president of Israel, which is a very low position compared to prime minister, it's like secretary of state, like Rubio. It's way down the ladder. But Trump said Herzog should be ashamed for refusing to pardon the prime minister, raising concerns over sovereignty and political interference. So, Herzog said, I'm not doing anything till we get a legal opinion, if it's even correct, to pardon Netanyahu when he never confessed to the crime and was never convicted. So this thing has got legs, it's weird. Um, 8 Palestinians were killed in an IDF bombing in the Strip. They were not innocents. They were trying to do something that wasn't good. So 8 of them got it. The IDF is saying that Hezbollah is continuing to attempt to rebuild their, wartime infrastructure and, hit us with missiles and, and stuff like that. Um, so we're continuing to bomb Hezbollah daily for months now. We want to make sure if there's a war with Iran, Hezbollah doesn't open up on us. Hamas can't do anything of any significance. And we want to make sure we don't have any problems with Hezbollah or Iran. Syria won't do anything. So we'll have to deal with Yemen, the Houthis in Yemen. We'll have to deal with Iraq and Iran. So the crown prince, the kid of the Shah, the son of the Shah, he's an older man now, is urging the world to stand with the people of the people of Iran. Uh, the Americans bombed yesterday, did airstrikes in Syria. Now, when they gave that base up to the Syrians, now it came out it said they evacuated the base. The next thing we heard, the Syrians moved in. But now what we're learning is before the Americans evacuated, they bombed it, they blew it up. Okay. They blew it up so it wouldn't come back to haunt them. So that's very interesting. And then, of course, Giuliani moved in on it. Now, there's reports in Iran that what happened yesterday during the night, no, in the afternoon, in Tehran, the capital, there was a large ammo depot, an ammo dump, for the IRGC, an ammo dump for the IRGC, and it mysteriously exploded and had all kinds of secondary explosions. So that was their Tehran ammo dump. Very interesting. So are we supposed to believe that is a coincidence? I would not go there. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, we got a prayer request. This is in the category of an emergency prayer request. I'll pray and then you guys can agree if you're believers. My Heavenly Father Jehovah, I come to you now for PC, Papa Charlie PC. I pray you would heal PC of all these cramps in the body, the legs, and so forth. Get the cramps to stop. Heal PC quickly and easily and show PC what needs to be done to prevent this in the future. And I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you believers can agree. Okay, this is, I know a few things about this from what happened to my wife with the cramps, okay? There's these things they sell called the TENS, TENS, okay? And it's a device that you charge with a USB and you get patches that are throwaway, but they last a few times with them. And you put the patches on like here and here, or on the leg here and here, one side and the other, something like that. And you run this machine, you could run it 15, 20, whatever, however minutes you want to run it. And you put it on there. Now, let me continue. The good machines are a TENS unit, and they also have EMS. It's not something to do with the post office. It's electrical muscle something. Okay. So to get rid of the cramps and the spasms, these machines work. My wife's gotten good results from them. We bought one. The first one was about $35, Amazon. And we didn't know exactly what we were doing. We wanted to try one, so we tried it. And it did help. it helped, but we didn't buy the right one. It just did massage level work, and it wasn't EMS. It was only TENS. Okay. Learned more about it. Went back and got one for about $80, I think. And this one is way more powerful, and it's EMS and TENS. I think it does something else. Now, you got options on there to set the power at different levels. Okay? And my wife puts them at a certain level that she can tolerate it. It's an electrical, it's not a shock. You don't sit there and go, ow, ow, you feel it in there. I put it on once to see what it felt like, and I go, whoa, whoa, but I mean, after about 15, 20 seconds, you'll get used to it, you control how much energy you want to put into it. Now, the one that I got her, which was about $80 or something like that, maybe it was 80 euros, I can't remember. Maybe it was 80 shekels even. I don't know. They're not a lot of money. It was considered medium grade. Okay. There's what you call low level toy grade, which is the first one we bought, which only goes massage level. It doesn't do therapeutic, but it still helped. Okay. So then you can go up to the medium level with EMS, and it gets way more electricity. Now, that seems to be making her better. Now you can go to a third level, but now you're getting into the next step up would be professional. And professional is going to mean a lot more electricity. And what you can do with the medium level is you could work two areas. I think the low level too, work two areas of the body at the same time. So you can put it on your right foot on the calf on both sides, and then you could put it on your, I don't know, your lower back at the same time, something like that, right? And it'll work two areas at the same time. Possibly if you get a professional, you can get three areas, but I don't think they want you doing three areas. I think two's enough, or your body might just get confused. And if your body gets confused, nothing's going to happen. Okay? So probably just the 2 hours, the two areas. But the big thing is going to be how much power it has. So when you go to a physical therapist and they're using a TENS EMS unit, they're going to probably put a large amount of power in it. But I think that's best left for the professionals in their professional environment where they could help if something goes wrong or something like that. So I'm not so sure you want to get a professional unit. I think you just want to get the medium level, let's call it that. They're under $100, and Amazon has a pretty good assortment. Now, how do you learn more about it? I'm serious about this. Go to Gemini, the free version of their artificial intelligence, and tell Gemini what's wrong with you. You want to use a TENS EMS unit. What should I look for to buy? How much should I spend? Where should I go? And how do I use it, and what kind of results I expect? You'll be surprised what you get. All it's going to do is go research it on all kinds of forums and all different places, and you'll get a good understanding of how this thing works. Okay? You could get the app for Gemini for free and use the app. If you want to buy a artificial intelligence, this is what I've learned. If you use the free ones like the aggregator sites, you can use them maybe 2 or 3 times, and then they shut you off for about 24 hours. Uh, there's a way you could pay them a nominal amount of money and use it a lot, but they won't let me do that from Israel. They discriminate, and that's common. Grok is surprisingly pretty good. It's the slowest of them, but it's surprisingly pretty good. Okay. Um, I think you got to buy that. They're not much money. They're less than $20 a month. They're not much at all. And then Chat GPT is another good one you got to pay. Uh, there's, you know, uh, all kinds of others you can use for free, but um, a lot of them not made for what we're doing. You know. Okay, that's about what I got on the tens and EMA. You could also contact me if you want more help. I'm going to start using it. I just been putting it off because now we got two of those units. My wife found by mistake, just by accident, that she doesn't wake up at night anymore when she uses this thing during the day. People usually wake up at night for muscle spasms, or they got to go to the bathroom. Those are usually the two problems that most people get. Um, so she doesn't do that anymore. Uh, so she's encouraging me to get into that, and I probably will. What else? The manufacturer of the thing will send you a little book with it that explains how to use it, and they probably have a website it's not that difficult to learn how to use it. There's not much to it. Yeah, I think it's a little tricky. You might have to know where to put it, but I think that if you're working on your thighs, you just put it on one side of the thigh and the other side, and I don't think you need to be more precise than that. I think you probably need to look into that. So you can put it on your calves, you can put it on your foot, I guess, or your calf, your thighs. You could put it on if you're getting problems in the stomach. I know you got to keep the thing away from your heart, so you don't want to put it anywhere near your heart. And I don't think you want it near the brain either. So you can put it all up and down on your spine, I believe. You can put it on your buttocks if that's a problem, or the hip if that's a problem, or the shoulder. I guess that's probably about as close to the head you want to get. I wouldn't put it on my forehead or on my mouth or neck or any of that. You can put it on your fingers if you were having trouble. That wouldn't bother anything. You put it probably here and here. Uh, can you use it on an animal or a pet? What would happen if as soon as you turned it on your dog, you'd have to scrape your dog off the ceiling. It would jump so high. Don't try to put this on a dog or a cat. They won't come near you for a week. It's not painful. It doesn't hurt. It will just scare the dog so much, or the cat, that don't even consider it. I'm telling you, don't even think of that. The animal will have no idea what you've turned into. It will not trust you. It will think you're crazy, and it's beyond the animal's logic to think anything that feels like this is good for them. No, you can't do that. You could use it on a little kid if you could convince the kid to put up with it, which I doubt. You could use it on a teenager probably without much trouble. Um, a lot of old people use this and they get good results. And a lot of young people, like, you know, basketball, baseball injuries, stretching industry, dancers, they use this stuff, I believe, for spasms and the pain from spasms and stuff like that, and the muscles locking up from it's really good. It's cheap, and I guess you just do it every day. There's probably a good chance that you've got something wrong with the minerals, the vitamins, or something you're taking. Uh, it could be electrolytes. Electrolytes will do this. It could be your electrolytes. It could be salt, which is, I guess, related to electrolytes. Red light doesn't do that much for this. Might do a little, but you want that tens. I think you're really almost in just about always going to work with the tens, because that's what it's really designed for. The tens and the EMS. Don't get the $30, $40 one. Get the ones that are $70, $80, $90. So the mid-range. That's what we learned. And it can't be just the massage setting. They have different settings. You got to have some therapeutic setting. A massage setting is like relaxing the muscles. So let's say you came home from a basketball game and you were running and shooting and your muscles were sore or something like that, or you were getting spasms, you were weightlifting or who knows what, but spasm, weightlifting, sore muscles, there you go. All right, let's see what's cooking over here in the live stream. If I can get in here. Let's see. Ice or not ice? I don't think you're barking up the right tree with spasms and with ice. I don't think that's the way to go. Another way that'll probably be rather effective rather quickly. I'm guessing on this because I don't know the problem. I would hit electrolytes right away, and I would get the good salt to make sure I was taking salt. And if I was eating meat, I would make sure that, well, forget that. I'm not going to go there. But Epsom salts in a hot bathtub. I would say that'll help noticeably, but it might not help that more. It might, it might help for 5 or 6 hours. I don't know. Well, thank you for saying you appreciate the channel. That was nice. Oh, this stupid thing, what YouTube did to it. It made things horrible here. Oh, somebody said ICE. They might not mean ICE for muscles. They might mean ICE for Immigration Customs Enforcement. Well, America and Americans have every right to enforce immigration into their country, and there's no reason they should just allow anybody to run in there and live there and not process correctly and have an interest in destroying the Americans and killing all the people that aren't Muslims. Yeah, I mean, that's what ICE is about, Trump is trying to get the illegals out of there, but he hasn't even scratched the surface, or maybe he scratched it. That's about all he's done. He doesn't want them there. No. He doesn't want them there. He's trying to change the voting so they have to show real ID as a citizen or permanent resident to vote. No, I think you got to be a citizen to vote, not a permanent resident. And he's trying to cut him off from social benefits in America. He's not in favor of them at all. He wants them out. He wants them out. It's one thing if they're there and they're working off the books. That's one thing. It's another thing if they're there and they're just getting free handouts from liberal lunatics that want to ruin America. You know, there's like goes back to the John Lennon, the Beatle. He said that, you know, in that evil song he did, "Imagine there's no heaven, it's easy if you try." You know, how about imagine there's no Satan, it's easy. Well, how about imagine Satan got thrown out of Israel, which the scriptures say he'll do. It happened in Zechariah 13. Oh, it's a better thing to imagine. But they talk about imagine no countries. So what they're saying, if there's no countries, there's no wars. Okay. But what they're not telling you is if there's no countries, Satan's running everything. His people are running everything. You know, it's all evil. It's not anything good. The only way you can have anything good is when Jehovah sets it up. And it's only going to be good for those that are obedient to Jehovah, because that's the only way things are good. People care about each other. Treat your neighbor like yourself. And when people do that, and you know, Jehovah makes sure they do it, then you start getting a good life, and they start obeying the manufacturer's handbook, and they stop with their nonsense and their crazy lifestyles and sick practices and all that. That's Satan stuff, you know, and that goes away. Then you have a good life. But you don't have a good life other than that. Satan just hates people. That's it. You know, cut and dry. Cut and dry. So, are they going to have somebody going to do a first strike during the negotiations? I don't know. Maybe Iran would. They might do it. I don't know. Iran is still thinking, and they have to be partially correct in the minimum. They're still thinking that Trump doesn't have the guts to do anything, and he won't. And then they're worried about Israel. But I don't know. It's possible Trump might strike Iran. I'm thinking, though, that he probably wants a third aircraft carrier group here before he attacks. That's my thoughts. So you'll see him bring this second one in. And then he might bring the third aircraft carrier group. And that's another 2 weeks. So towards the end of the month, the what do they call this next aircraft carrier coming in? The Gerald Ford will be here. And then at the end of the month or the beginning of March, he calls to George Bush here. So that gets him to that month he's talking about. He keeps dragging it out. What is he going to talk about with these people? He goes there and says, I want a nuclear deal with you. Well, we're not giving you a nuclear anything. We're not cutting anything down. What is he going to sit there and talk? He wants to stall it. He wants to make it look good to people that he tried. And what is Iran doing? I don't know. Maybe the same thing. I don't understand this thing. Something will break, though. It won't hold together. It won't hold together. Um, I'm still looking for somebody that could help me with Rumble. I don't have much space on my iPad. If somebody would like to open their own Rumble account and take my videos daily and just download them into their computer and then upload them into Rumble, it would be good. I think you'll get much better treatment from Rumble if you upload the video into Rumble. Rumble's not going to necessarily know or care that it originally came on YouTube. Not going to care. If you put the link in, you're going to get very little attention from Rumble about that. If you download the video and then you upload it, you don't take it directly from YouTube. They're going to treat it like you just put a video up, your own video, which it is. It is. It just happened to put it up on YouTube and also Rumble. So that would be a big plus. We got Facebook covered. Somebody's doing a very, very good job on Facebook. With groups as well, with a Facebook group. And then I'm also, I couldn't post on Twitter for 2 or 3 days. Something was going on with not being able to post the YouTube video. Now I got back and I can do it again. So I put the ones that I couldn't get up. I don't know what went wrong. Instagram would require, if somebody wants to run Instagram, it would be good, but it would require somebody editing out from my videos small pieces and putting it in Instagram. Would have to be small. I don't know how small. TikTok also. I think on TikTok you could get up to about 10 minutes, maybe 12 or something like that. They'd have to have editing software and know how to do it. Okay. So if anybody wants to help spread the true gospel around the world, let me know, because you could do it. There's no advertising. I don't want any advertising or trying to sell anything, by the way, so don't do that. And that's it. So we're looking for Instagram, we're looking for TikTok, Rumble. I already got Twitter, Facebook, Telegram, and YouTube covered, so I think that's about it. If anybody knows of some other avenue they want to use that's free, I don't mind. You can upload to that too. All right, so let me get us a prayer. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I come to you now. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, for me and my wife and all the true believers in their households, I pray that we would all be happy, healthy, whole, and safe and secure, including our animals and pets. We'd have your healing and recuperative power to flow through us, and we'd keep healing constantly those things in us that need healing, and we would not get sick or hurt, and we would have strength, stamina, and endurance, and we have no accidents, no tickets, no breakdowns traveling, no mishaps in general, and we don't get discriminated against by any company, lawyer, court, government, and we don't get scammed, frauded, ripped off, robbed by any entity, and what else? I pray that if we need a job, any of us, we find the job, and if we need more clients and customers, we get those. And if we need to start a business, whatever it might be, cleaning service, or what do you call it? Dressing, cleaning and dressing up cars, washing cars and polishing them for people, detailing. You know, they don't have detailing. You don't say that in Israel. I've been here too many years. You don't use that word like that. And or internet, or open up a shop, a bakery, or whatever, that they would be able to do so and have success with it. And I pray we would all understand the Bible better. And I also loose off any and all of the true believers that and their households, and me and my wife, any and all witchcraft, sorcery, curses, hexes, vexes, spells, enchantments. And I pray the unclean spirits cannot surveillance any of us, or see into our house, or be in our house or our car, or know what we're doing, or know what we pray, or know anything about our communications on the internet, or on the phone, or in person. And I pray they can't harass us, and the people that serve them can't harass us. And I pray the darts of the enemy miss us. And I pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and I send my shalom to all those that I'm praying for. And I do all this b'shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And I hope you got something out of this. And I'm out. And I'll keep updating. And if something breaks, I'll do live streams, not just Telegram. I'm out.